Okay, good vach from Yerushalayim and Kodesh. Now the Mishnah on Tes Vav Amid Beis had stated all Zevachim that the Azar is Makabel the Dam or Oinen or Tful Yoim or Chus Kippurim or Chus Begodim Shalrachat Tzadayim Raglayim Oral Tamei. All we had learned all these halachis that what that's Machal the Avodah. So now we're up to Tamei. If a Tamei is does the Avodah, it's Miskalo. The Gemara is going to go ahead and say it's not all Tameis are created equal. This is a very, very challenging blot, but Bez Hashem Yisbarach with Siyat Dishmaya, we'll do the best we can. Okay, we're up to Chaf Beis on the base. We're about halfway at the halfway point. It says Tamei Puzzle. The Tamei does the avoid this puzzle. Amu Ziknei Darim. The Ziknei Darim, these are Amoroyim, they're not Tanoim. Ziknei Darim, Loishanu, that the Kohen goes ahead and does the avoida. If he's Tamei, it's puzzle. Ela Tamei Sheretz. It's what? If it's a Tamei, he's Tamei Tumah Sheretz. Aval Tamei Mace, if he's Tamei Tumah Mace and more severe Tumah, Mitoishem Miratza B'tzibur, Miratza Name B'yachid. Now we know that that Tumah is Hutra B'tzibur. The current Pesach can be bought if the Rav Tzibur is Tamei. We don't need for the Pesach Sheni, but they go ahead and bring it B'tumah. Tumah is Hutra B'tzibur, and that Tumah is Tumah's Mace. So just like over there, Tumah is Hutra B'tzibur, Einachinami, a kohen for the yachid also would be chutter the tzitz like would be maratza, that if the kohen is tamei and does the avodah for an individual, it would go ahead and be that would be it would be good. Okay, so let's get down. This is the whole shir is based upon getting down the shita of the Ziknei Darim. The Ziknei Darim mechadish. Then when the Mishnah says a tamei is puzzle, it's tamei sheretz, less of a tumah than tumei mace. Masha'enkein, if it's tumei mace, mitoich mishlotzet with tzibur, hutra nami biyachid, that if a kohen who's tumei mace does the avodah for a yachid, it would in fact why it will be good. It will be good. Okay, Fred the Gemara, if they're going to tell me that's true, tumei sheretz nami, leisei b'kal v'chaymer. I should say tumei sheretz b'di'eved, if it does the avodah, it also should be good. Right? Where do you learn the kal v'chaymer? From tumei mace. Ma tamei mace shetoyin hazah shlishi ushvi. Tamei mace that requires spritzing of the paraduma water on day 3 and day 7 of the tiring of his purification process. Miratze, and nonetheless, you're telling me that the tzitz will be miratze and the kohen and the carbon will be a good carbon. Tamei sheretz she'ena toyin hazah gimel shvi. Tamei sheretz which does not require toy hazah gimel shvi. Ein idin is not a kal v'chaymer shemiratze. It's not a kal v'chaymer that it's miratze. So it makes a lot of sense. If I ask the Jew in the street, what's Muhammad, Tumei Sheretz, Tumei Mace, everyone will tell me Tumei Mace. No one's going to tell me Tumei Sheretz. So now you're telling me the following. Madach Tumei Mace, which is Muhammad at Sheretz, the tzitz is Miratza, and the carbon's accepted. Kal v'chaymer, that Tumei Sheretz, the tzitz should be Miratza, and the carbon should be accepted. That's why I read the Gemara on the sheet of the Ziknei Darim. And for the Gemara, Kasavei Ziknei Darim, Michaprim, the kahanim who go ahead and facilitate the kapara, kim mischaprim have the same halacha as the owner who brings the carbon. Ma mischaprim, the owner who brings the carbon, tamei mace in tamei sheretz loy, that tamei mace it would be acceptable to tamei sheretz loy, but tamei sheretz not. Af mechaprim tamei mace in tamei sheretz loy. Now the Gemara goes ahead and adds a connect. We're speaking about what? We're speaking about Tamei Mace. Now, my Kasavi, what exactly does it hold? What exactly does it hold? But before we get to this, let's go ahead and take a look at Rashi. Mechaprim kimischaprim, kishahutru tuma b'tzibor, when tuma is mutter b'tzibor, shneim hoy b'mashma, hakayim v'atzibor. It's mashma, either one or both. We learn from B'moy Adai. Hilkach Koyin Kitzibor. Makishu Hutra Tuma Eitzel Roiv Tzibor. Shet Nitma Tame Meis Huta V'loy Tame Sheretz. Afkishu Tul Koyin B'Karbon Tzibor Ma Huta V'loy B'Sheretz. So therefore, guys, the following: it's the carbon Pesach time. You have Roiv of the Tzibor Tame Tumis Meis. If the Koyin goes ahead, and or Roiv the Kahanim Tame Tumis Meis. That's going to be nidcha. In other words, you're not going to go to Pesach Sheni. The tumah is going to be doicha b'tziba. Guys, very important. You hear this? Tumah mace, the most severe form of tumah, will go ahead. Well, the most severe tumah linian, my drag is a tumah, but l'chayra it would be huta b'tzibur only when right most of the bailim. So just like the mischaprim, most of the bailim, so to the mechaprim, the kahanim. What happens if what if most of the tzibah are tamei tumah sheretz? What happens if most of the tzibah is tamei tumah sheretz? What's the din? It must be, as the Gemara is going to say in a second, that here you are, it's Erev Pesach. I can't bring the carbon Pesach because I'm tamei tumah sheretz. I go to the mikvah. At night, I'm going to be tamei, I'm going to be tahar, because I'm a full yoim. And then at night, I'm going to be tahar. So therefore, the Ziknei Dorim must hold based upon this insight. It must be they hold that Tumas Sheretz, you could go ahead and send. I can make a shliach to go ahead and do it. In other words, you want to say the following. You want to make a kal v'chomer. Ma'adach tamei mace. You're telling me is hutra. Certainly Tumas Sheretz should be hutra, because I'll tell you not like that. The reason tamei mace is hutra is because we make the mechaprim like the mischaprim, and just like tamei mace b'tzibur would be hutra, so too if you send it to the kahanim, it's hutra. Masha'en came mace. It's masha'en came sheretz. It's not hutra. Sheretz is not hutra at all. What's sheretz? I'm tamei. I can't bring the carbon. I'm tamei. What can I do? I can say, Yankel, do me a taiva. I'm going to go to the mikveh now. Right now, I can't bring it. But in the evening, once it's Erev Shemesh, I'll be able to eat it. So go ahead and bring it. So Memela, it's very geschmack. Since you never find the Hecha Timtza of needing the Hutra B'tzibur, you never find Tamei Trace by the Yachid. Since you never find the din of Tumei Meis Tumei Sheretz B'tzibur, it'll never lend itself to that because they can send it. So Hu Adin B'Yachid, right? He can't bring it. Good, and that's why the Ziknei Darim hold the din of being puzzle is only by Tamei Sheretz. That's the Gemara. Okay, says the Gemara. So you have the Kal V'chaim. Yeah? Now the Gemara shows up the Kal V'chaim. Yeah? Kasarve Ziknei Darim mechaprim the kahanim akim mischaprim. My mischaprim Tamei Meis in is hutra b'tzibur, and Tamei Sheretz loy is not hutra b'tzibur. Af mischaprim so af mechaprim so the kahanim Tamei Meis. If the Tamei Meis in, then what? It's what mischaper, meaning the tzitz will be meratza. Tamei sheretz loy, the tzitz will not be meratza if a kohen is tamei sheretz. Mamish a big chiddush. Fred the Gemara, just a little insight. I gave it to you already. Micah survey. What did the Ziknei Darim hold vis-a-vis sending the carbon Pesach, sending a shliach to go ahead and bring the carbon Pesach for tamei sheretz. You can't go ahead and send a messenger to ensure that it's the shechita and tzrika of the Pesach. In other words, if he held that, you can't do it. So therefore, if he can't do it, then b'yachid, if you can't do it, he can't send it, then b'tzibor, it'll be nitcha. So it should have the same halacha as Tumas Meis. If he can't go ahead and send it, so then it's nitcha. If you have roivid at siba, tamei tumah sheretz, then it should be nitcha. If they can't bring it, it should be the same as mace. Ella must be kasavi shaychim v'zayk not tumah sheretz. It must be they hold that what. In fact, you could be shaychim and zayk tumah sheretz. So therefore, it's never going to end up in a situation where you need roivid at sibor, because they the yichidim, each one can individually send on Erev Pesach. So it'll never be a situation. Mamela, since it'll never be a situation of tumah hutcha b'tzibur by tamei sheretz, mamela, if a kohen goes ahead and does the avodah. If he goes to go ahead and does the avodah with tamei sheretz, it is possible. Mashain came by Tumas Meis, which ain't nachinami is hutra b'tibor. So mechaprim akim mischaprim. Just like Tumei Meis is hutra, so to what? It's going to be hutra that tzitz will be meratza. If a kohen is tamei Tumas Meis, to go ahead and bring the carbon. That's the shita of what of the Ziknei Darim, and I hope it's clear. Amma Ula did not like this, the din of Ziknei Darim at all. He taka is a lashon of mamish blowing his shofar. Mamish, he's screaming at them, and from their own kal v'chomer, he wants to mess them up. Takalu Reish Lakish. I said Ula. Amma Ula. Takalu Reish Lakish. Ula said name Reish Lakish. L'droimi to the Ziknei Darim. V'chi eza koyach meruba. Which koyach of nitcha is meruba? Which koyach to go ahead? Which koyach to go ahead? And nitcha, and to go ahead, which koyach to go ahead and push off is more? Which koyach is more nitcha? In other words, it's more powerful to go ahead and push off the tumah. The koyach, right, of meruba to push off tumah. Koyach kahanim mischaprim, or koyach mischaprim. It's the koyach of the kahanim, the koyach of the bailam. I would say is koyach hamiskaprim. I would say the koyach of the tzibur. Why? Uma b'makom shenitmu habaylim b'sheretz. Mishalchin karbonosehem. Koyin shenitmu b'sheretz ein maratze. B'makom shenitmu baylim b'meis. She'ein mishalchin karbonosehem. Right? Ein adin she'ein maratze. So it says he doesn't understand. The koyach of tumah of the tzibur is stronger than the kahanim. Tumah is such a tzibur, right? It's much stronger. So you're telling me the following: by sheretz, you tell me by sheretz, right? By sheretz, the bailam tummy tumah sheretz, they could send their karbonis. Yet, if the kohen does the avodah, they're out. Tamei mace, where they can't send their karbonis, they have to go to Pesach Sheni. Tamei mace, where they can't send their karbonis, they have to go to Pesach Sheni. Ein idin that the kohen should not be meratzeh. So just to say where we're holding, we have the shita of the ziknei darim. The ziknei darim are of the opinion that when the Mishnah says that tamei is puzzled, that the carbon's puzzle, it's speaking of kohen who was tamei tumas sheretz, but a kohen who was tamei tumas mace ain't nochinami that sits in mimaratza. That's the din, right? And they asked the kal v'chomer if it's mechaper for mace, certainly kohen should be mechaper for sheretz. They said that no, we're going to learn out the koyach of the mechapif and mischapim, just like chum tuba is hutra b'tziba by mace, so too it's hutra by the kohen that's tummy to his mace. Masha came where it's not hutra b'tziba by the sheretz because they can send it. Therefore, what the kohen mat, if he does the avoida with tumas sheretz, it'll passel. Fegda Ula bomb kasha. Like I don't understand you. Ula in the name Reish Lakish says, I don't understand what you're talking about. I partially don't understand what you're talking about. The koyach of the mischapim to push off tumah hutra b'tziba is stronger than the kahanim. And you're telling me the following. You're telling me that they can go ahead and they can send it. They can say, go ahead and send it. Again, Erev Pesach, Yankel, go ahead and bring it. They can go ahead and send it. Yet nonetheless, the kohen goes ahead and does the avodah. It's no good. By Tamei Mace, where they can send it, because they have to go to Pesach Sheni, he think that it shouldn't be good. And you Gedali Ziknei Darim say it is good. Again, it doesn't make any sense. If you're telling me the place they could send, yet the kohen does the avodah is no good, in a place where they can't send, ain't no din that the kohen does the avodah, it shouldn't be good. So therefore, you Ziknei Darim are wrong. It should not be good. Tamei Mace should not be good. As I frag Ula, Taka Ula in the name of Reish Lakish. That's right. Says the Gemara. Sarvei Ziknei Darim, this is important. They hold Tamei Mace Nami Mishalei Karbonosav. Here's the two guys. If you're Tamei Tumas Mace, you should wait to Pesach Sheni. Bidi Eved, if you send it, it's good. So I can't go ahead and slug up the sheet of Ziknei Darim. What are you going to say? By mace, by sheretz you could send, yet the avodah is no good. By mace where you can't send, the avodah should not be good. Mace you could send. You could send. Fred the Gemara v'kasiv ish kiyeh tamei v'asa pesach b'chodesh hasheni. Yeah, Pesach Sheni. What do you mean you can send? Yeah, Pesach Sheni. You tavi tumas mace. You can't go ahead and you have to wait till Pesach Sheni. Says where that's the mitzvah. Chatchila. But the if you send it, it's good. But the if you send it, it's good. Fred Gemara v'kasiv, right? The pasuk says, "Ish lefi achloi techusu alaseh." Each person who's eating should be counted on the seh. Mashma what that if you tell me mace, you can't be counted in. Says the mitzvah. Says well, that's all the mitzvah. Fred the Gemara. So I said, no, that's the shita, guys. That's your shita right there. You get the shita of the ziknei darim. Since b'di'evet you could send it, so therefore the kal v'chomer to slug up to say that you want to send up that madach, that sheretz you could send, right? And the tummy mace, the kind whose tummy sheretz is no good. Certainly mace where you can't send. So the zichad, if he's tummy to his mace, the kohen should not be good because he holds you could send it. It says what? That it says Pesach Sheni lemitzvah. It says achloi. That's lemitzvah, but not la'akev. The Gemara will kuve loy to ma'akev not vatanya. The michsas nefashos. It says in the number of people malamed sheina pesach nishchad el menuyav. You got to be counted in. You can't just show up and eat a carbon pesach. You have to be counted in, right? Shachto shaloi lemnuyav. If you shecht for people who are not counted in, yachol yehei ka'over al mitzvah. I think you're over on a mitzvah. Tamalay ma techusu. Hakosiv sheni love. The pasuk says michsleis nefashos. It says techusloi. Sheni love la'akiv. It goes ahead and it repeats it la'akiv to tell me that what if you're not counted in, it's ma'akiv. So the assumption is what? Also, if eating it is ma'akiv, that if you can't eat it, it's ma'akiv. So just like menuyin, it's ma'akiv. If it's being counted in, if you're not counted in, Korban Pesach, it's a no-go. So too, if you can't eat the Korban Pesach, it's a no-go. So how could you tell me that a tamei mace could send the carbon? How could he do it? Says the Gemara, Ziknei Darim Leimakshi. They don't go ahead, they don't make the hekesh. Ziknei Darim, they don't make the hekesh. Okay? So maybe they don't make the hekesh, so therefore, so good, you have to chusa. But regarding eating the Korban Pesach, it's not a problem. If you can't eat it, you go ahead and send it, you're good. You go ahead and send it. B'di'evet, you send the carbon, you're okay. I still got a kasha. I still got a kasha on a kal v'chomer that Reish Lakish is taka can go ahead to shluk up ziknei darim. Okay, and again, as we're repeating, what's ziknei darim is chiddush. Two chiddushim. One, the din of psul is only by sheretz, not mace. And the second thing, that b'di'evet, you can go ahead and send the Korban Pesach. B'di'evet, you can send the Korban Pesach if you tummy tumis mace. The chiloi makshenami mehanami islu pircha uma b'makom shenitmu bailim b'sheretz, right? Mishalchem korban asayim lechatchila, right? Ma b'makom where the baal is tamei to mesheretz lechatchila, he could send the carbon in order to eat it in the evening, right? Koyin shenitmu b'sheretz, a koyin that's tamei b'sheretz ain't a miratza. The tzitz is not miratza. It's not going to go ahead and find it acceptable. Makom shenitmu bailim b'meis she'im mishalchem korban asayim lechatchila. They can't lichatchila. Good. You're telling me b'di'evet they can send it, but lichatchila you might they can't. Kayin shenim of mace ain't a din she'ain't a maratza. It should be a din. It's not maratza. So in other words, we have a final slug up. Again, it's not nothing's final in this, you guys. But right now we have a slug up that l'chayra to the ziknei darim. What's the slug up? Lichatchila, the person's tummy sheretz can send it. Why? Because then comes the evening, he's going to be able to eat it. Right, so therefore what? And nonetheless, if the kohen does the avodah, if he's tamei sheretz, it's a no go. Everyone's moida lichatchila tamei emes cannot send it. It's b'di'evet. Even again, the chedesh of the ziknei darim is b'di'evet. You could send it, but lichatchila you can't. So if lichatchila you can't, ain't no din that what that sits should not be maratza, and the kohen's avodah should not be good. They don't. There's no retort. The ziknei darim do not answer that. Now the Gemara Meisive is going to continue to ask. Meisive, Fred the Gemara. Okay, this is regarding a Mishnah in the Daf Pei Amid Beis in Pesachim, that we know a Nazir goes ahead and brings karbanis on the day of his Naziris, then he finishes it. If he's Tamei, he brings an Asham and a Chatas and an Oila. If he's clear, he brings no Chat, just a Chatas, an Oila, and a Shlomim, right? And can he send his carbon? Can he the chatas and the Korban Pesach? So these two carbon. Sha'amru nazer v'yse Pesach hatzitz meratza. The tzitz is meratza al tumas dam. If the dam became tummy, the tzitz is meratza. However, the aim hatzitz meratza al tumas haguf. But the tzitz is not meratza on the tumas haguf. In the Havamina, it's speaking about the owner. The tzitz can be maratza on the etzem physical carbon if the dam became tamei. It cannot be maratza on the owner. Right now we're holding on the owner. So let's say the owner, the nazir was tamei and he sends his carbon, or the Pesach was tamei and he sends his carbon. The tzitz can't be maratza because they're tamei. That's what the Gemara's havamina is right now. But what kind of tumah are we speaking about? If the owner was tamei tumas sheretz, what's the problem? If he's tamei tumas sheretz, he's going to go ahead, send the carbon, go to the mikvah, and he'll be tar in the evening. It's a no-brainer. It's not a problem. So the tumah under discussion regarding sending the nazir's carbon and sending the Pesach can't be tumas sheretz. Ella must be tumas mace. Must be speaking about it's tumas mace. And ketani ein hatzitz meratza. It says that tzitz is not meratza. The tzitz is not meratza on tamei mace. Now we're speaking alma nitmu bailim b'mace ein mishalchan korban osayim. Now again, the havmina was that the tumah is going on the owner. So it says why so the owner can't send it because the tzitz will not be maratza. Why did you, the Ziknei Darim, say? You said bidi eved, you could tamei tumas mace, you could send it. Bidi eved tamei mace, you could send it. Says the Gemara loy. Either b'meilim b'meis hachanami, you would be able. You're right. You you would you would be able to send it because bidi eved you could send it. Hachanami hachamayaskinon kigon shenitma koyin b'sheretz. It's not speaking about the owners being tamei. It's speaking about the kohen being tamei, and he's tamei what? Tumas sheretz, which is the shita of the Ziknei Darim. So the Mishnah in Pesachim had said that the tzitz is maratza on the korban itself, on the dam, but it's not maratza on the guf. We thought the guf meant the owner's guf, and the answer it's the kohen's guf. And which tamei was speaking about? Not tumas mace, because tumas mace would be maratza according to the Ziknei Darim. It's speaking about tumas sheretz, which according to the Ziknei Darim will not be maratza. If it's speaking about tumas sheretz, it's speaking about the kahanim. If it's speaking about the kahanim and not the owners, ema sefer. What does the sefer say? Nitma tumas hatahoim. Now, tumas hatahoim fell is literally is tumah of the great deep. It means a suffix tumah. It's a tumah you would never be able to know about. Let's say on the way to bring the card in Pesach, the guy passes over a ravine and brings the card in Pesach and everything. They find afterwards the ravine he passed over, there was a mace, but he could have never known about it. He's yaitza. He's yaitza. That's called tumas hatahoim, tumas of the great deep. It really is like a suffix type of tumah. So Mela, you see, it's a halacha mashmisina that tumas hatahoim works. So this same Mishnah in Daf Pei Amid Beis in Masechta Pesachim that says that tzitz is maratza on a dam, but it's not maratza on the guf, also discusses the din of tumas hatahoim. And what does it say? If he became tamei tumas hatahoim, had tzitz maratza, the tzitz will be maratza on the guf of a person. Without, if he's tamei, the tzitz will not be maratza. If we find out it wasn't tumas hatahoim, but if it's tumas hatahoim, we'll find out the tzitz is maratza. Hatani Reb Chia lo amu tumas hatahoim el meis bulvad. Tumas hatahoim is like the case I gave you, a ravine that you passed over. What happens if a situation where there's a suffix where you touch the sheretz or not? You're not sure. You passed over and there was a sheretz, and maybe you touched it, maybe you didn't. You know about the sheretz or not, and you were tamei tumas sheretz. Let's say you were tamei tumas sheretz. You passed over it. Then you don't say tumas hatahoim. So obviously in the sefer, if you're not speaking about tamei tumas sheretz, the ratio also must not be speaking about tumas sheretz. It must be speaking about tumas mace. If it's speaking about tumas mace and it says it's not maratza, you see that you can't send the lechatchila. I got a big upshlag on the Ziknei Darim. Says the Gemara, lemute ma'alav lemute tumas hatahoim the sheretz. And therefore, what, as I just said, it can't. If that's the case, then the kohen's tummy must be tumas mace, and it says it's not maratza. Loi lemute tumas hatahoim the ziva. Tumas hama v'ziva. Okay, a little background. A zav is tamei if he sees what either two re'iyas in one day or one re'iyah in 2 separate days. Let's say it's ben hashmashos, and he sees. The question is it one re'iyah? And he's not at Zav yet until he sees the second time, or we'll divide it up. I'll suffix. Maybe the first year was of the first day, and that was the next day. That's what's Tumas Hatahoim, a suffix of Tumas Ziba. That's what it comes to be Mamayit. Right? We say Tumas, there we're going to say it's 2 days. We'll go ahead and be Machmir. When do we say Tumas Hatahoim is Tahar? That's by Tumas Mace. When do we say Tumas Hatahoim is not? That's by Tumas what? By Tumas Ziva. But Einachinami, by Tumas Sheretz. Also, we'd say what? Tumas hatahoim. And the Mela, if the Seif is speaking about Tumas hatahoim of Sheretz, the Reish is also speaking about Sheretz. If it's speaking about Sheretz, then you have the sheet of what? Of the Ziknei Darim. Because Einachinami, a mace will go ahead with it and be you could send it b'di eved. Ve'alahad the boy Rami Barchama. Koyin hamaratze b'karban asayim. Hutzulay Tumas hatahoim, oilay hutzulay Tumas hatahoim. Tifshit the tumas hatahoim hutzulay. You can be paishit the Rami Barcham Shaila that tumas hatahoim it would be tahar. The hacha b'koyin kaimin. According to us, we're not speaking about what the Baal, we're speaking about the Koyin. And nonetheless, we say from the Seifa, since it's speaking about the Koyin, the ratio again, Koyin of Sheret, the Koyin is speaking about Sherets, and therefore it doesn't work according to Ziknei Darim. The Seifa is speaking about Tumas HaTahoim of what? Of the Koyin, Tumas HaTahoim is the Koyin's Tame Tumas at the Haim, and nonetheless the tzitz is Maratza. So let's be poishit. Rabbi Mercham Shaila. Rabbi Mercham says is Tumas at the Haim is a Maratza or not by Tumas at the Haim, and with Chayri we poishit the Shaila that it is. Says the Gemara. So what's a Shaila? The Hacha a Koyin Kaimin says Gemara. The Rabbi Mercham Evadei Pligi. According to Rabbi Mercham is going to argue on Ziknei Darim. He's going to argue on Ziknei Darim, and he's going to say that it's speaking about Tumas Mace, and therefore only Tumas Mace, Tumas Atahoim would be Maratza, but any other form of Tumah it would not be, and he would sell you would not be able to go ahead and send your carbon lechatchila. You would not libidiyeved. You would not be able to send your carbon. So right now we have Rami Bar Chama arguing on Ziknei Darim, but Ziknei Darim have held serve. Ziknei Darim have held serve to this point in time. They've held serve, and they're holding their shita. Again, what is the shita? That when the Mishnah says Tameh is pasul, it's speaking about Tumas Sheretz, not speaking about what? It's not speaking about Tumas Mace. We tried it, Kalachaimis and everything, and they fought it off. Okay, Tashma. Now, V'nasa Aaron es Oven HaKodshim. It says V'hoyal metzach Aaron, and the tzitz will be on the metzach of Aaron. V'nasan Aaron es oven hakodshim asher yakdishu b'nei Yisrael l'chol matnus kodshayim v'hoya al mitzchay tamid l'ratzayin lem l'fnei Hashem. So the tzitz has this miraculous power to go ahead and make the carbon acceptable, right? So v'nasan Aaron es oven hakodshim v'chi eza oven noise v'chi eza oven. Which oven what will it go ahead what and be meratza for? Which one will it be Meratza for? Im oven pigol. If you're going to say what, it's the oven of pigol. Harik Fainema. Change the gear so lo. In other words, if the kohen had the machshava of a pigol of chutz lemakaim, it won't be meratza. And one of the four avodas, right? In either the shchita, the kabbalah, the halacha is rika, that he's going to go ahead and do it in a different place, right? Then it sits is not meratza on that. Im oven noiser. Rashi learns noiser here does not mean the classic noiser leaving the carbon overnight. It means bringing the carbon chutz l'zman. Like noiser is past l'zman. This is speaking past l'zman. Ha'karei lo yechoshev. Change the gersa. So therefore, when it says that tzitz is meratza, it can't be speaking about pigel. Ha'ena noiser ela oven tuma shehutra mechlala b'tzibur. We find what that tuma is hutra b'tzibur. So therefore, it must be tumah. That's once we find the kula that tumah is hutra b'tzibur, as it says b'mayado, you bring the carbon pesach b'mayado. So we know that tumah is hutra b'tzibur. But mela in the realm of tumah, we find such a heter. So who adin the tzitz is going to be meratza on tumah. The tzitz is going to be meratza on tumah. Okay, my tumah. What tumah are we speaking about? Ilema mi tumah sheretz. If you're going to tell me that tumah sheretz heichi ishtari. Guys, we never find sheretz with the b'tzibur. So we said, go ahead and send tumah sheretz. Go ahead, send your carbon. And wait till the evening. Everything's good. So you never find it hutra b'tzibur. So the svara of the tzitz mimaratza is because we find in the realm something that's hutra b'tzibur. Obviously, it can't be going on what? On tumah sheretz, because we don't find the concept of tumah hutra b'tzibur. El must be speaking about tumas mace. Must be speaking about Tumas Mace. V'lav kegoin nitmu bailam b'mace, that he became Tamei Tumas Mace. Alma nitmu bailam b'mace mishtalchen carbon asayim. So you have a kasha on Rami Bar Chama. You see that what? That the tzitz can be meratza on Tumah. So which Tumah can it be meratza on? It can't be sheretz, because here's the formula, guys. Since we find Tumah hutra, so in the same place with Tumas hutra, the tzitz will be meratza. Where do we find Tumah hutra? We find it by mace. So we find it by mace. It must be hutra by mace. So you see that what bidi eved, you must be able to go ahead and send your carbon, and then the tzitz will be meratza. Who is that a raya to? That's a raya to the Ziknei Dorim and a kasha on Rami Bar Chama. It's a raya to Ziknei Dorim and a kasha on what? On Rami Bar Chama. Ubemai. Who are we speaking about? Ibn Nazir. If he's speaking about a Nazir who contracted Tumah, Chiyomas Mesalov, Amrachmana, and therefore he has to wait to go ahead and bring his carbon. As I said, there's two parshas of Naziris. There's a Nazir Tameh, and there's a Nazir who completes his Naziris. The Nazir Tameh has to stop his Naziris, count, get tahar, and he's only Tumas Mace is what overrides the Naziris. He then goes ahead and brings these three korbanos to Asham. And then he's going to go ahead, what? Right? All right. Then So what's the tumah? What's the tumah that's under discussion over here that the tzitz is maratza for? It can't be speaking about a nazir because the nazir is not bringing his kabbanis. He was tamei pesa pesoim tumas meis. He's not going to be his kabbanis. So it must be speaking about tumas sheretz. So you see the tzitz is maratza on the tzitz is maratza. The tzitz is the tzitz is maratza on a sheretz, right? No, not actually. I lost my train of thought. They must be speaking about tumas meis. So you see that the mace could send it. So the mace could send it. It's a kasha on Rabbi Bar Chama who said a mace can't send it. And for the Gemara, it's speaking about a sheretz. La'olam, and for the Gemara, la'olam, it's speaking about what? La'olam b'sheretz. Now, so what does it mean? Einachinami, if you tame mace, you cannot send the carbon. If you tame sheretz, you could send the carbon. But 1 second, what happened to our rule? You just went ahead, you had a rule. Tuma hutra b'tziba, that this is maratza. Sheretz is not hutra b'tziba. On that, the Gemara says, don't make that analogy. Here's the analogy. Since you find in the realm of things that are usser, you find a certain waiver. What is that? Tuma. So, wow, you don't find the waiver by pigel, you don't chutz l'zman, you don't find the waiver by chutz l'makayim. You do find the waiver by tuma vis-a-vis tumas mace, but not limited to tumas mace. It extends to any type of tuma, right? Even tumas sheretz. So when it says over here that the tzis is maratza, it means on tumas sheretz. But einachinami, a mace, you would not be able to send it. And a male, it's not a kasha on Rami Bar Chama. Again, just to reiterate, it's a tough sugya, fellas. I know. The Ziknei Dorim had said the Shita, and they said that Bidi Eved, a mace can send his carbon. Rabbi Bar Chama said there's no way the mace can send the carbon. He disagreed. We're bringing a raya now from the tzitz that a mace could send the carbon. Why? Because since it's hutra b'tzibur, it should be hutta by the tzitz. If you do it, Bidi Eved, you do it. It's work. The whole tzitz is a Bidi Eved situation, right? And the tzitz would work. So the Gemara is answering, it's not speaking about tumas mace. You can't send tumas mace. Male, if you can't send tumas mace, it's not a kasha on Rabbi Bar Chama. So what does it mean? That tumas hutra b'tzibur, and therefore the tzitz is maratza? It doesn't mean hutra b'tzibur. Since we find in the realm of Isurim, we find that tuma, there is a waiver. Once there's a waiver in that, the tzitz works, not limited, not tumas mace. Mace doesn't work, but it works by sheretz. Why? Because shem tuma ba'olam. The shem tuma is in the world. Now, and those who medayik, they bring the same dialogue, however, from the pasuk itself. What did the pasuk say? V'nasan Aaron hakoyin, v'nasan Aaron es oven hakotshim, the oven white of kotshim. Right? It says oven hakotshim. Kotshim means the animal itself. In oven makdishim, but the oven of those who are magdish to carbon loy. Oven ekdeshim in. Oven makdishim loy. Now my tuma. What tuma are we speaking about? Ilema tuma sheretz. If we're speaking the tuma of sheretz, mi ishtri b'tzibur. As we said, it's not mutter b'tzibur. There's no chutra b'tzibur by that. They can send that. Elalav must be tumas mace. For oven kadeshim in dafka, the oven of the animal itself. For oven makdishim loy. So you see that somebody's tumas mace cannot send it b'di eved and have the tzitz maratza kasher on the on Rami Bar Chama, that one who says that you can't send it. Here it says it's mashmer tzitz maratza. What does maratza mean? That you sent it and bid the evidence. It's going to be maratza on Tumas Mace, like Ziknei Dorim. It says loy. It's not going to be maratza on Tumas Mace because you can't send it. That's why. Lo'ilam tumas sheretz. I sheretz is not huta b'tziba. Sheretz is not huta b'tziba. But shem tumah bo'ilam. Since we find the shem tumah that it's maratza, who didn't want it would be maratza on sheretz. So yotzim varenu. We have ziknei dorim. They were not ziknei dorim. There was a kasha pircha on them that we did not answer. They hold the opinion, the chiddush nifla of our mishnah, that when it says tameis pasol, it's only tumas sheretz, not tumas not tumas mace. Because the mechapim are like the mischapim. Just like we find tumas hutra b'tzibur, we find the chutta by the kohen who does the avodah. In addition, we found the chiddush that b'di'eved you're able to go ahead and send the carbon even if you tummy tumas mace, and Pesach Sheni will be the mitzvah, and Tchusa will be the mitzvah if they don't even make that hekesh. Rabbi Bar Chama disagrees. He says that you will not be able to send tumas mace and Pesach Sheni. Therefore, it's Pesach Sheni. And I wish everyone a good night from Yerushalayim Kodesh. Good Moed.